Welcome back to another episode of Break the Huddle. We have officially reached the off season, quote unquote. As everyone should know, there is no off season in college football. And with that being said, we have a lot of breaking news, a lot of things going around the country that Brad and I are going to discuss with you guys. First off, we're going to discuss the Bama football situation. As you guys know, Nick Saban has officially retired from college football. He retired last week, took the world by storm, literally. It's not something that we expected necessarily at this moment in time. We knew it was going to come at some point, but here we are. And before we could even get an episode out, they go in and hire Washington head coach Kalen DeBoer. And wow, what a splash hire. Things are starting to move. We're going to discuss movement later on in the offseason, quote unquote, again. But I'll hand it over to my co-host, Brad Hopkins. Brad, what an amazing season we had, first of all. And now we're getting into the quote unquote off season. What a shocking way to start. I mean, we go into this off season wondering how Bama's gonna fix things, wondering if Tommy Rees is gonna stay as offensive coordinator. The defensive coordinator retires, and next thing you know, Nick Saban's out the door as well. Brad, I'll hand it over to you. Thoughts on this situation and moving forward. Is Kalen DeBoer the right guy, and what's it going to take for Bama to stay competitive in the SEC?
Yeah, Nate, absolutely. And you look last week, here we are. It's the end of college football season. The national championship played last week, and kind of the name everyone was waiting to hear was what Jim Harbaugh is going to do. And I guess to an extent that's still up in the air. I know he has interviewed with some NFL teams, and then we get the news last week. I was sitting on my couch next to my wife, and my jaw just dropped. And I showed her the text, and then I immediately turned it TV on, started hitting the message boards that Nick Saban, in my opinion, the undisputed GOAT, has retired. And first of all, as a college football fan, I love this sport. It is the best sport in the world to me. I'm sad because this is a man that has done so much for this game, so consistent and so dominant. And Nate, the thing that always has impressed me about Nick Saban is his ability to adapt, his ability to recognize when changes were made. Because you look when he came on early at Alabama, it was about running the football and playing defense. And then his offenses started to get more explosive. You saw him get, very, very good quarterbacks and explosive wide receivers. His defenses might have suffered, but it was still, Alabama football. And so that's always the thing that stood out to me for Nick Saban, his ability to adapt, his ability to change and evolve. And one of the many, many reasons to, like I said, to me, that makes him the GOAT. Coach Saban, I hope you listen to this. I hope you listen to Break the Huddle, but congrats on a great career. Wish you and Miss Terry the best in retirement. You deserve it. And one final thought before I get on to the Kalen DeBoer, my thoughts on him. Nate, one of the things that we've talked about here on Break the Huddle, and one of the rumors that's out there in the college football world is, does football break away from the NCAA and become its own entity in its own division? I want to see it. I hope it does. And, there's been thoughts on college football needs, a leader, a commissioner. Well, the one and only name, in my opinion, should be Nick Saban. So if that does happen, I hope he's the phone call. Getting on to Kalen DeBoer. First of all, what a great season. What a great 2 seasons that he had at Washington. I think he's a guy that I really, really like. I think, listen to him speak. He's very, very impressive. I really, really, really do like him. I think it's an A hire. My thoughts are, he's never been in the SEC. He's never recruited the Southeast. He's put together a good staff so far. But it's wait and see, and bottom line, he struck gold with Michael Penix, with Roman Dunze and the rest of those offensive playmakers. Nate, the big question mark I have is on the lines of scrimmage. Can he get offensive linemen and defensive linemen in there? Because, bottom line, that's what the SEC is about, and that's what ultimately college football is about. You saw Michigan dominate that Washington team because they won on the line of scrimmage. So That's my big question marks. One final thought, and I'm really, really intrigued. You mentioned Tommy Reese. I kind of feel like he's on the way out, but we'll see. My question mark is Jalen Milroe. I do not think he fits in this offense. To me, he is not an accurate enough passer. Ty Simpson is there as well. The quarterback battle at Alabama is going to be very, very interesting. I'm going to make a hot prediction that Jalen Milroe will not be the quarterback. He may not be there past spring, but I think Kalen DeBoer is a good hire, but recruiting is a very, 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 very interesting topic, Nate. So, like I said, once again, congrats to Coach Saban on a great career and hope he enjoys retirement.
Yeah, you pretty much summed up everything I was going to say about adaptability and changing the game of college football. And like you said, congratulations, Coach Saban. You have changed the game of football forever. Throughout the years, you have been consistent. You've been a man of integrity. And as a college football fan, we just thank you so much for what you did for the game. And as Georgia fans, we thank you for giving us Kirby. So even though he went and played at UGA, because of Nick Saban, that Coach Kirby Smart is the man and the coach he is today. And that's just one person out of his tree, right? You look around the college football and how many coaches he has put into either major head coaching jobs at the college level and some that have even trickled into the NFL in some capacity. So, yeah, he revolutionized this game. I want to say one thing that you touched on, which is his adaptability. You mentioned his change of pace, especially in the offensive game early on when he was at Alabama, run heavy. You think of Mark Ingram, you think of those type of guys, TJ Yeldon, and so on. And over the years, he kind of transitioned and became the spread offense. But the greatest thing that I saw Nick Saban do was he was going to find a way to beat you with what he had. And that was the crazy part, right? Because you think about in a year with back in the AJ McCarron days, right? It was run heavy, pro style, I formation. We're going to line up and just run it down your throats, and you're not going to be able to do anything about it. And I watched it for years, and I was like, how in the world are they doing that? And you saw a glimpse of the spread offense come into play with quarterback Blake Sims. And I forget what year that was, but that was kind of the start of something new in the Nick Saban era. But then his ability to kind of pull back and go to a guy like Mac Jones and go back to what used to work best for that Alabama offense, and then come back again with obviously Bryce Young and so forth. I mean, just an incredible job of coaching. Just the way he was able to adapt to what he had to work with, even this year. The fact that they were in that position was because of Nick Saban. Any other guy that was coaching that team with those players and that roster, Brad, I'm telling you, they wouldn't have made the playoff if it wasn't for Nick Saban. That coach, the effort and the consistency and the discipline he was able to instill into those players this year to not give up, to not lose hope, to stick with it, to just continue to grind it out. And at the end, no, they didn't win the national championship, but they beat Auburn in his last game against Auburn, and he goes out with an SEC championship. So, props to him for his ability to do that. Regarding Kalen DeBoer, you touched on some really good topics. He's a really good hire for Alabama. And look, no one's going to be Nick Saban. And if you're a real Alabama fan, you know that a 3 or 4 loss season is coming eventually. I don't know if it'll be this next year or the year after or the year after that, but it's bound to happen, right? Because you got so much roster turnover, you got new coaches coming in, and I get it. Kalen DeBoer has been successful everywhere he's been, but the reality is there's gonna be a setback, and I think if Alabama can consistently win and only lose, 2 to 3 games per year, I'd chalk that up as pretty remarkable, having to come in to fill Nick Saban's shoes. That's all I'll say about that. It's going to be interesting. I think you touched on it. He brought in Will Rogers to Washington during this offseason, I don't know where Will Rogers will end up at. Jed Fish is over at Washington now from Arizona. We'll touch on that in our next episode, but it's going to be intriguing to see what happens moving forward. There's a lot of dominoes that have to fall before then. Remarkable career for Nick Saban, and it's going to be fascinating to see all the changes coming into the SEC with the additions of Texas and Oklahoma, the 12-team playoff, where Kalen DeBoer can lead this program and how he can step in and kind of to stop the bleeding. And I say that in the sense of to keep the program alive and well. So I wish both Nick Saban and Kalen DeBoer the best of luck and their next chapters of life.